Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop is focused on one thing, single barrels. Best of all, you can try before you buy. Head over to abvbarrelshop.com to sign up for their email and text distribution so you know what they have in stock, what classes are coming up, and who from the industry may be coming in to visit. The ABV Barrel Shop. It's where single barrels live. We're also sponsored by the Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers traveling minibars that are no bigger than a small purse or toiletry bag. Best of all, they are fully customizable so you can create the perfect piece that is unique for you. If you own your own business, what a fun and unique way to promote what you do. Check them out online at thebartogo.com. That is the number 2 in the Bar to Go. If you have wholesale questions, call my friend Isabel Clark at 504-481-1297. Finally, we are sponsored by the Neely Family Distillery. NFD is a family-owned business that keeps ringing up awards in the spirits world. Head to Sparta, Kentucky to experience the family history, award-winning spirits, and meet the Neely family. Check them out online at neelyfamilydistillery.com. Now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we discuss the fact that craft distilleries are beginning to close. My name is Miss Beka Sue. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, as well as our special guests, Katie Joyce and Ryan Thompson.
Hey gang, what's up?
Howdy.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, so yeah, we're going to be talking about craft distilleries starting to close. This is an interesting phenomenon. A lot of us have talked about there's plenty of whiskey coming along. And of course, the craft market, if we want to just refer to, in general to distilleries, some people don't like the term craft, but that's what we're going to refer to as. It's becoming mature. I mean, you're talking about many distilleries that are considered craft are over 10 years old. We got 10th Mountain celebrating its 10th year this year. And there's a lot of them that are doing that. So yeah, that's a cool thing for Ryan. And we're going to talk about the fact that they're starting to close and what that means. And it's interesting the fact that they're not selling out, they're closing, so that's an indicator of things not being so great. Obviously, if they're selling out, well then someone else is coming in and taking over, but the ones I'm seeing are just flat out closing, so that's interesting. But we'll get to all that after the break. For right now, I wanted to run a scenario by you guys because I think this might be as low as it gets, with the exception of crimes against children. With the exception of that, I think this is, and I want to see if you guys agree with me. So my mom still lives where my mom and dad lived, and we had a tornado go through. It didn't come directly through there, but there were strong winds, and it ended up taking out a huge oak tree just 2 houses down from her. And that oak tree hit the house, and initially they said the house was destroyed, you had to put a new one. Then they came back, insurance comes back and says, no, we can pay to fix it and all that. So, you're left in kind of this twilight zone. Your house is non-livable, but do you move everything out of there? They didn't move out everything out of there. I guess they moved a lot of things they considered valuable and stuff like that. And of course, the house is shored up. They put plywood on there and all that. But the problem is you are having a lot of people at the house. When you have that sort of damage, you've got all kinds of contractors. You got plumbers, you got electricians, carpenters, you got all kinds of survey people, stuff like that. So there's a lot of people around there that know that you're not living there. That ends up being part of the key. And of course, it's accessible. But they know that in the evening that place could be alone, and I'll be damned if someone didn't break into that house. And I think they had taken most things of value out there, but what they took was a Vietnam veteran's medals. Don't you agree that's one of the worst things that you could do? I mean, cash. I mean, I'm against anything stealing, but don't you think that is just one of the lowest forms of shit you could do?
Yep.
People
what are they going to do
that.
with them? Right?
Yeah.
There's no significance to them at all.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody who buys that shit should be ashamed of themselves. I wouldn't buy it.
You're totally right. Then there's things, right?
Yeah. And maybe if I had a pawn shop, I would buy it if I get the guy, and then call the police and say, hey, we need to find out who these are, to get them out. Right. If they're fencing them, I mean, something like that. But I think that's terrible.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's the type of situation of why we have ranges in our sentencing for different crimes. There's not a set punishment because that's a situation where I throw the book at someone that
Yeah.
like you're going to get the maximum. You should be getting the maximum sentence for that kind of theft. That it doesn't matter at that point what the actual technical value is. That is a special kind of bad.
Right.
I just
Right.
don't understand the point of stealing that.
Me either.
Like, steal my TV, fine.
Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
You can't replace those. Even if the military replaces them for them, it's not the ones that they earned. It is a replacement metal. It's different. It's different.
Let alone talk about kicking someone when they're down. They just had an oak tree fall on their house, for crying out loud.
Right.
They got
This
enough
is-
going on, and then they're going to go steal from them?
I'll say this, Ryan. Going through a flood back in 2011 in my hometown. That's those people. Because they are a special type of bad. Like, that's what they do. They go to those places where
Wow.
people are literally at the lowest point of like losing their homes, possibly losing like people dying and like losing like everything. And they literally go there and this is what their plan is to go and like virtually like destroy these people's lives 100%. And I don't know that that's what they're thinking when they do it, but they know that like they know that those people are at the lowest of the low and that they're not paying attention to what's happening. And so that's why they go do it. Because it happened so much in Minot in 2011. Like, you had to be so vigilant about what was going on because there were so many just like people stealing vehicles and homes getting broken into, and like it was horrendous. And it just makes it so much worse that you're already in such a horrible place mentally too. And like, it's just like, this is what these people do. Like, they watch for when there's going to be when bad disasters happen.
Yeah.
And they go do this because they know that that's when they can get in and steal stuff. And it's absolutely horrific. And those are the worst. They are some of the worst kind of criminals, because just preying on someone when they're down is
Totally right.
I
horrendous.
agree with Katie's sentiment. Maximum sentence. I think when they get out too, I don't know how much control you have with their parole, but it feels like they need to be when that person gets out, they need to be at a VA hospital volunteering, mandatory community service, volunteering there and helping out. And it's just terrible to steal those medals. They need to see the repercussions of
100%.
people who've gone through wars and things like that, and work with them. There has to be some understanding there. And I think that's about the best you can do. I mean, because that's bad.
I do think that'd be a great situation for requiring community service, because one, you can have the purpose of making it right, quote unquote, of doing something positive rather than just, you give them a fine, you put them in jail, but it's not doing anything better to society necessarily. That, and when it's a lower value of it, you're going to be maxed out on what you can give them time anyway. That's not necessarily that meaningful. But you also can sometimes get them with the double whammy, that you can maybe get them to do some of their community service, but if they don't complete it, then they come back on a probation violation, and then you get to put them in jail. So maybe get both.
Yeah.
What would something like that look like, Katie, if you were throwing the whole damn book at someone like that?
Oh God, it would, because our stealing statutes are based on value. So if it's a value of more than $750 in Missouri, it would be a felony. And at that point, then you can actually get into something more serious. When it's below $750, I'd have to look to see exactly what it's classified as. You could do some jail time, but especially if it ends up as their first offense, even if it's a felony and you can send them to Department of Corrections, then Department of Corrections has their formulas that they fill in for when someone can be released and eligible for parole. And so the small percentage that someone on a theft charge would end up serving it's a bit upsetting sometimes when you get, just because they have so many more serious criminals in there, that they see this person who has the potential to be on parole. So even if you do sentence them to longer on a felony, they're going to get out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Beka Sue, have you guys ever caught anyone stealing from the tasting rooms?
From the where?
Beka.
Stealing from where?
Your tasting
From
room.
the tasting room?
Oh, like stealing like glasses and stuff?
Yeah, whatever. Anything, yeah.
bottles.
I've never caught anyone before. I know that like people people steal glassware all the time, and that's just kind of the name of the game.
I know they do. We because we have them set in a box. Ours good, and you can see the box shrinking.
Yeah, so it just it's the name of the game when you've got like any sort of like specialty glassware. Is it
with your logo on it? People will do it.
Yeah.
And you can buy them. They're right over there. You can buy them.
Is it okay? No, but people just do that. Like and there's sometimes people get drunk and they don't even like realize that they're walking out the door with something. And like, I mean, usually people do know obviously that they're stealing something. Right. There's also times where, because there are other distilleries that give away their mini glens, like with your tasting. And so I think, I like to think anyways that sometimes it's just people thinking that comes along with the cost.
Right.
Because that does come along with the cost on occasion. But we've never actually caught anyone actively stealing before.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to see legislatures, because it could fall under, say you steal a medal from a veteran, and the assessed value is under the felony amount. Wouldn't you like to see these medals again? People putting their life on the line, fighting for our freedom. Those should be an automatic felony. I think that you should waive the dollar amount that makes it a felony or not. It feels like those medals are that important. I don't. Am I wrong?
I'm with you, Akeley, 100%, buddy.
I have to look it up because there's some factors, like if you have like an assault case, you can have something with a special victim. So I feel like that should qualify under a special victim type case for that situation. And we may have something like that. And there may be something in other states as well.
Right.
I'm just blanking on currently to see if there could be that qualifier that would increase it then for having a special victim situation.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think it certainly would only take one case of something that happened and going to the news that some legislator would be very likely to pick up on that to remedy it and add a stealing of a special victim.
Yeah, because who's going to vote against that? If someone writes up a bill to turn into a law, am I going to be the one that rallies against that? Hell no. I would think that gets passed. I mean, that'd be a tough one to try to justify not voting for that. I think that's a bipartisan one. I would assume.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I hope so. I hope so.
If that's not, we got trouble.
Yeah,
worse than I thought. Even we're in trouble anyway. But it was worse than I thought. If that's not a bipartisan thing for sure.
That could be the goal for next legislative season. Get stealing of special victims added to make sure that the be covered.
To make sure that there's some teeth to the sentencing because it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
stealing medals, like dog tags, like stuff like that from a war veteran should be definitely dealt with a lot differently than just like stealing my TV.
Yeah, I agree.
Because,
I don't want to lose my TV.
There is no actual purpose to steal that.
Right. Exactly.
Like, what are you stealing that for?
Yeah. No. All right. On that note, guess what, gang? It's time to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start with our military guy. Since we had a military-themed question, we'll go with Ryan here.
Well, in that case, we better start with, I was going to start with a bottle that was a screw top, but now I'm going to start with something that's a cork top, just so I can actually try to play along here, although everyone knows where I'm going to end up, but here we go. Little Westward American Single Malt Whiskey from that great distillery up there.
Okay.
Oh!
We
was
barely
one of my
heard
best
it.
ones ever.
We barely heard it, but you've got the lead. Just barely.
That almost blew my eardrums.
Oh, there's a new
That was
bumper
so
that we put
Okay,
together.
Wyatt. All right. Let's.
The Warden, Ryan recently had his first ever audible cork pop, way better than that one there. And then the person who goes after him, he didn't have a good one. He starts talking trash. I think it was Swiat. And then you hear Ryan talking, and the Warden calls me and says, "You got to make that a bumper. That's hilarious." So I turned that into a bumper coming out of the break. So if Ryan getting a half-assed decent cork pop and then talking trash immediately thereafter. God forbid. If he ever gets good at cork pops, he's going to be a nightmare. Yeah.
Wait till I get a microphone, actually.
Yeah. All right. Katie, you're next.
And on theme with our topic for today, I have Arcane Imperial, which is a distillery no longer in existence.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's real good. It's not like super explosive. It could be good enough to win. I think it's going to beat me.
Look at Ryan's face. Look how upset he is. He's like, mine was so much louder.
Disgusting.
I'm like,
Disgusting.
Not
That's
Katie's
our lead.
fault.
That's our lead, Ryan. What do you think? Yeah.
Disappointment.
All right. Becca's next. Let's see. Oh, Becca's out. She gets the pass.
Yep, I'm not even gonna play.
Right. So she's got to go do an airport run after this, so she's not drinking. I've got Copper Dome whiskey here, so I haven't opened this one in a while. So usually Demetrius Kane stuff, they're terrible on the cork pops after the first one, and we'll see. He does have a new bottle that's better. This is old school bottle, not good, but let's see. Well, I set all that up to make an excuse for myself, and it was legit. I lost, so Katie wins. So,
woo!
cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Terrible.
It was terrible. All right, we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about distilleries starting to close. We'll do that in just a few. Okay, let's talk about the people that make these shows happen. First up is the Stave and Thief Society. Via their in-person class at Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky, the Stave and Thief Society is the place where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge an executive bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my executive bourbon steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Speaking of Executive Bourbon Steward certification, the ABV Barrel Shop in St. Louis, Missouri has developed a unique partnership with the Stave and Thief Society to offer a preparatory class to assist you in getting your Executive Bourbon Steward certification. This prep class costs only $25 and is available to take live or online via Zoom. Graduates of our class receive a coupon code good for 15% off your Executive Bourbon Steward certification held in Louisville, Kentucky. This saves you almost $90. Additionally, you can collaborate with fellow attendees to split travel costs when you go to Louisville. If you're interested in signing up for the class, simply head over to abvbarrelshop.com and check out the classes and events page. Last but not least, we are sponsored by Neely Family Distillery. Royce Neely is the 11th generation distiller in one of America's oldest distilling families. A visit to Neely Family Distillery takes you through family history, where you can see all the artifacts and newspaper clippings through the years from this family that started distilling in America after James Neely arrived from Northern Ireland in 1740. Today, Royce Neely and his team are crafting some of the best spirits in America. Their bourbon and absinthe offerings keep winning top honors in the spirits competitions. Recently, their absinthe made history as the first platinum winner in the absinthe category at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. Neely Family Distillery is definitely a bucket list destination if you are a bourbon fan. Learn more about their spirit offerings, visiting their facility, and the awards they have collected over at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com. And now, back to the show.
This is Lenny Eckstein, and to set the record straight, I am a vegan, and you're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking about distilleries closing.
Yes, we are. And I do think it's just very telling that so many of them are just closing the doors. That's it. We're going out of business. And, because you think, if things are a little tough, I would assume all of them try to sell it. None of them just are like, we're done. I assume there's a process most are going through to try to sell it, see if anybody's interested. But they're not being sold. They're just closing the doors. So that is very telling indeed. So what do you guys think about this? What's going on?
It makes my heart heavy, I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
All kind of sad. I think it's all the natural progression of business anyways, right? I mean,
yeah.
In the industry, whatever, there's businesses that'll last and businesses that don't, but I always hate to see when any business, let alone a distillery in the same industry is closing down. It just sucks, especially just closing the doors and walking away. There's so much equipment, plumbing, inventory, etc. Right? Just to walk away from it all, I don't know, man. That hurts.
Yeah,
it's hard to have that staying power in any business, and you run out of money eventually. But I think especially in whiskey, it's hard to see because of how long it takes to get product ready. Even if someone was sourcing something, it's not like you're buying it and turning it around a day later. Like there is still so much time that goes into having a product available and ready. And so I think it hurts extra to see these go out of business.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of an alternate take on this and see what you guys think of this. So my thought is we're coming off a very explosive growth in the industry. So, and there was a while it seemed like anybody could be successful. And unfortunately, I don't think all were committed to excellence. A lot of them got into it, think it's going to be fun to own a distillery. They watch a video on YouTube on how to make whiskey, and then they just follow that. And they keep doing that same thing again. And I think because we went through a time where everybody's out trying new distilleries, everybody went out and gave them a chance. And then because they're new, hey, we'll stick with it. And there's always that excuse when you're, like Katie was saying, when you're in this industry, that it takes time. So I think, and an educated consumer will also often give a distillery the benefit of the doubt, knowing that it takes a while to age and get things done. But now we're to the point where they've been given the benefit of the doubt, and I think the bad ones are the ones that are falling by the wayside. Unfortunately, I think they weren't well suited for this industry to begin with, and I think that's what we're seeing. I don't think it's an indicator of problems in the market yet. I think we will get to that probably if they keep laying down so much whiskey. But I think that's more of an indicator. What do you guys think about that?
I completely agree with you on that, Steve. I think that we saw how many sourced brands come out in 2020.
Yeah.
Like right around that time, like how many sourced brands, then some of these sourced brands are like, well, I'm going to start a distillery now too, because I decided to buy some barrels of MGP. So that means that I'm fully capable of starting a distillery as well. And like, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Right. And but since they sold, 500 bottles of their MGP stuff that they bought, they're like, oh, we could do this full time for sure. Right. And so then they start to just dive fully in, and they don't know that it is literally you are giving every inch of yourself into this. And I don't think that everyone is as committed to it as you literally have to be.
Right.
It is a lot. I've seen Royce go through it over these past 4 years. I mean, I think Ryan's probably only, he's probably only 30 years old, but he looks, about, the poor
exactly,
guy.
Beka Sue, exactly, right? Amen to that.
The poor guy.
Like president. Right?
Yes.
That's a joke, Ryan. That's true. But Ryan knows, you give, you really have to give your, every bit of yourself to that place. Right. Or have just tons and tons of money, which is what Ryan has done, obviously being the billionaire he is. Right. But you have to either put it, and even if you do just put in tons of money, which we've seen some of these very rich people do before, where they just think they can dump, throw money at it and it'll work. Mm-hmm. And that is still not always the ticket to making it work. You need to have a story. You need to have someone who knows how to make what it is that you're trying to make. You need to have the confidence behind it as
creativity.
Well. Everything. There's so many things that go behind it. And I just don't think that everyone that just thought they could start a distillery realizes that. I mean, we get at least probably 2 times a month, we have someone come in the distillery and say, I'm thinking about starting a distillery. Yep. Can you guys tell me how?
Unbelievable.
That used to happen all the time with us as well, Beka Sue, or phone calls or something. It hasn't happened as much lately. That certainly has died down for us at least, but we would get it all the time.
What a weird thing.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that weird? Hey, tell me how I can start a successful business.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally, 100%.
And I don't know. I think there's something about a distillery as well that I don't know if it's because people like drinking it, that they feel like it's more approachable than it is. I never had anyone come into my office and be like, hey, how can I open a law firm? So I think maybe because you don't need a law degree from an accredited university, so people think they can do it. I think is definitely a portion of these that are going out of business. Is that think that it can be their hobby when it cannot. Any business you own, that you're running, you cannot just be a hobby.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, but as well the art and the science and the knowledge behind that as well.
They
I
think
feel
it's just
like-
going to be a fun little thing to do, and then they forget that the government is involved in every fucking aspect of it.
Right, right, and it's not an easy business either. I mean, it's a tough thing. But one thing I'll say, and I, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing this long enough. Again, not making whiskey, but talking to people who make whiskey. I think I can tell based on conversations who is going to be good at making whiskey and who is going to struggle. And I'm telling you. I'm not bragging or anything like that, but when I talk to a Royce Neely or an Adam Stumpf or Demetrius Kane or Ryan Bort down at Woodhat, I talk to these people, or Sean at 10th Mountain. They're different. The people that are good, or there's something different about them. That combination of science and artistry that they have, it is unique. And I'm telling you, the ones that you can tell that they're just going to be treating it like baking a cake. That's the ones that don't succeed. You can learn how to make. I could learn how to make whiskey. It wouldn't be very good, but I could learn how to make whiskey. But that's the difference between somebody who's good in this business and who's not. It's not learning to make whiskey; it's learning to make good whiskey. And some of that maybe is inert. Maybe some of that's learned. I don't know. But I can tell a difference talking to who's going to be good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
who's going.
I can tell you this much, that there's only one person that's came in and told us they're going to start a distillery that actually is open a distillery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And,
totally right.
and they're in Ohio, and they don't make bourbon, they make moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already on the Moonshiners show, and so like he had that kind of and like that's his little niche. Like he has that, and so like that's why he was, I think, able to open it, and like he does do a good job, but like that's like the only one of all these people, and it happens all the fucking time. Yeah, I think that we're like we're thinking that we want to start a distillery. Yeah, I bet you are.
Right.
I bet you
Right.
are thinking about starting a
Yeah.
distillery. Good fucking luck.
Yeah. It initially doesn't seem like it's too much, right? It just seems like, hey, I can buy a still. I can get the still for $3,000. They're thinking very small scale again. I found a still. It's like $3,000, and then basically I just need some water and some corn and barrels. That's going to be. I'll get a couple of those, and I'm in business, and buy a pallet of bottles and corks, and we're good to go. And it's way more than that. And if you want to do it right on any scale, it's going to be. It's in reality, it's a lot of money to get into this business.
Yeah,
And I've got a little insight with basically a celebrity brand out there that has one of the hugest audiences out there, and should have a red carpet laid out for them. They're doing well, but I heard recently even that they were considering pulling back too. And so
Really?
someone on that scale and that big of an audience that's been around forever to have thoughts of maybe pulling back and stopping what they're doing is certainly gives me a little pause and to take note of it. So, and then also one of our friends down in Denver, it's public that he's closing out, but Golden Moon and Stephen Golden, he was just, he did so much work for the Colorado Distillers Guild, and he was such a great dude and a smart businessman. He was banking on exports, and then export and tariffs and all that's happened. And so his business plan was more focused on outside of the U.S., which I thought was interesting, but that came back to bite him in the butt, and just because of global economic climate. And so he tried to sell for a while. He almost had an investor. He did have an investor. Then they from what I understand, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I think they changed their investment. And then Steven was like, I'm closing the door instead. And he's like, Ryan, you want to come down and buy some equipment? It's all fire sale at this point. So
Right.
And I hate a guy like that, man. He's got a ton of business experience and knows what he's doing. And it's certainly a little scary when you see that happening.
Right. Yeah. Darren's joined us now, so let's
Hello,
start
Darren.
over. Let's just start over. Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the pod. Oh no, we're not going to start.
Wait, this is the Bourbon Daily? Been
You
wanting to
got
be on
wrong
the show
one?
for years.
So we're talking about the craft distilleries closing, and we're going from kind of sad that that situation's happening to kind of talking about the ones that are falling by the wayside, or the ones that really haven't been very good, and it's just kind of catching up to them now. They've been given the chance by the public, and when you don't get better, you don't go back to those, and that's the problem. If you can't get repeat business, you're not going to survive. You can't discover new people to come in every single day and get the cash registers to ring and not put out a good product that makes them want to come back and buy the next bottle. The first bottle's good, but that's not what makes your business. It's them buying the next one and the one after that. Then
the one after that is the really big one. Once you can get them that fourth time, that's when you know you can make it.
That's key. So yeah.
Well, and also some of these places are just going up in really stupid places.
Yeah.
On occasion, like they're putting these in like the dumbest spots possible. You're like, why would you put a distillery there?
Right.
Like it's going to cost so much for the rent, even
in an expensive place or in just a really dumb area, like a hard to get to area that has like no infrastructure in general, or they want to just dump in millions of dollars into some massive place that like they don't really know what they're doing. Like not everyone has the best business plan sometimes.
Right. We've got a great example of that close to us. There's a little town called Herman, and a lot of tourism in there. Local tourism. It's a winery, wine country in Missouri, and but everybody's like, well, we'll make something else for them. Put in a distilleries, and there's like 6 of them down there.
Yeah. Herman has like 2,000 people or something, right?
Yeah, there's like 2,000 residents and 6 distilleries. The commitment to excellence really hasn't been there, and at some point it's going to catch up to them, and they may fall by the wayside unless they get their act together. That's for sure. So we'll see. We hope for luck for them. I mean, I don't want any Missouri company to go out of business, but yeah.
I mean, except when they're making stuff that I don't like. Then
it's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, you want them to do good, and
I know.
So not all were bad there, by the way. So we'll leave the audience to figure out which ones are good and bad there. So yeah.
I do have some friends that are opening up a new distillery right now. They're about to finish building it, and and so there's hopefully they can get some equipment, maybe on the cheap. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, there should be stuff out there. Yeah,
but at least they're opening are optimistic, and I was like, as long as you guys aren't trying to be a national brand out of the gate and one day at a time, bottle by bottle, right? And satiate your local market first before you do anything else. And I think they're in a tourist area, and I think they've got a good location. So we'll see what happens there. But
how much do you all think it played into it that the big national companies who were behind and selling out when we had the big boom now have caught up with their production and they're keeping bottles on the shelves? They're not all selling it, because I think some of it was people would go into the store, all of their known brands were sold out and unavailable at a certain point in time, and so they would try those new craft distilleries. But now most of the big name brands are keeping product on the shelves.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that play into it. I think that definitely plays into it. And again, you go back to timing. I feel like this might have happened earlier. I think COVID actually helped these folks because people being home were exploring other things. They were going out and trying new brands and stuff like that. So you were, at that time, say it was, that was maturing to where most craft distillers were in that 5 to 6 year range. Well, now we're 4 more years on top of that. But there was a time when a lot of things were selling. Everybody was kind of wanting to try things when they're stuck at home and they still had a job. The initial thing was, we don't know if we're going to have jobs. Once they found out they got jobs and they're going to be at home, they got into it. So I think that extended things and just pushed that. But we're at the day of reckoning now.
Had to do something to survive at home with our families.
Exactly. So, well, there you go. It's an interesting phenomenon. I'm not overly concerned. I don't feel like this is a bad thing for the industry. This might be a good correction in that if you're shaking out some of them that are representing the industry in not a good way, that the loss of them is not a bad thing. So we'll see what happens. But once we start seeing some ones that we really appreciate and have a great liking for, if that ever becomes the case, then it's time to worry. But right now, I think it's more reflective of not everybody has thought this thing through and just joined because they thought it was cool. So
yeah, because it is cool to own a whiskey brand. Like
it is, it certainly is. Yeah. So on that note, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Darren, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Bourbon Adventures.
Katie.
You can find me over on Instagram at Katie Proof.
Ryan.
Across all socials at 10th MTN Whiskey, and our website's 10thwhiskey.com. That's 10th whiskey with an E.
All right, Miss Beka Sue.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Miss Beka Sue, 1K, no C's.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's going to be abvnetwork.com. Check it out. Everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Come by and see me. The ABV Barrel Shop, the place where you can try before you buy. You never know what's happening there. So online, we're available at abvbarrelshop.com if you want to check out our classes, who's coming in, what we have going on. You can even sign up for our email there, right there, too. So, again, abvbarrelshop.com. Miss Beka Sue, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd just like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. If you like what we're doing, we ask you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
Great job today, gang. Farnance, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Before we let you go, let's talk about one last thing. The ABV Barrel Shop in the St. Louis community of Arnold, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop is focused on a couple of things. First of all, single barrels. We are the place where single barrels live. We go to distilleries, taste through the whiskey, select the best barrel, and have it shipped to our store where we present it to you, our customers, by allowing you to try before you buy. We're also known for the classes that we have in our education center in the store, as well as the events we have with industry professionals from the bourbon business. If you are in the St. Louis area, please come by and visit us at 6 Fox Valley Center in Arnold, Missouri. Or at a minimum, at least sign up for our email and text distribution so you know exactly what's going on in our shop over at abvbarrelshop.com. This is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, signing off. We thank you for listening to our programming and truly appreciate your support.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.